So, good evening and welcome to today's session on architecture schools to consider in 2024. And it's a wonderful day. It's rained after so long in Bangalore, and I'm sure it's rained elsewhere as well. Um, so, very happy to have the session with all of you on this beautiful day. So, I'm going to start off with this session. So before we start, could you just type into the chat which class you're in? Have you all completed class 12? Or if you are currently, entering into class 12 or class 10 to 11 or any other class, please type that into the comment section. This way, I also know that you all are listening and can hear me as well. So I'll do that while I set up my screen. Okay, entering class 12. V Sudha is entering class 12. That's great. Okay, so let me share my screen. All right, and I'm guessing you can see my screen. Let me just check. Type in yes if you can see my screen. Just hold on while I check. All right, completed. So many of you have completed your class 12 as well. So I'm guessing you all can see my screen. If you can see my screen, then just type it. Okay, perfect. This is great. Let's continue. So what we're going to cover here is this over the next 1 hour. We'll take about 20 minutes to 25 minutes to finish this part of the talk, and we'll leave the rest for Q&A. So, how does one get into architecture school in India? What do you need to keep ready with you for this process? The third point we're covering is what do you need to do in architecture school actually, right? How do you get a good job at the end of your architecture program? And accordingly, so you work backwards and you say, okay, this is what I want to achieve. Which kind of a school would help me achieve that? And that's what you would do to create your own rank list. Now, your rank list may be good for you, it may not be good for somebody else. So please do not listen to what somebody else is saying and say, okay, he's put in this order, so I'm going to put that order as well. No, that works for them. You should do what works for you. And till the process starts, you're going to be wondering what's going to happen, what can you do at this stage, and let's take things beyond that. So let's start off with point one. How does one get into architecture school in India in the first place? So very straightforward, very straightforward. Let me just hide this panel. Yeah, okay. So very straightforward. There are three ways. So number one is a national allotment through JEE paper 2. National seat allotment through JEE paper 2. So what are the schools that you're targeting through JEE paper 2? Primarily SPA Vijayawada, Delhi, Bhopal. You have the NITs as well. Some of the NITs are mentioned here: Bhopal, Calicut, Trichy, Nagpur. All of these are good ones. And you also have some of the IITs, that's Kharagpur, Roorkee, and Varanasi. Now, your second option is to get in through NATA, right? And through NATA, every state has their own list of schools that accept the NATA scores, and you can go through this as well, right? The third option is a direct application to any architecture school with your NATA scorecard. All right. So, for example, JSA, Christ University, SEP. So, what happens is you give them your NATA scorecard and your 12 board marks, and they compile their own rank lists. and they may have their own additional procedures. So these are the three ways you could get into a architecture school. So let's go through the first way in detail. Now, primarily, when you answer the JEE mains paper 2A, remember 2A is for architecture. When you answer this, you qualify for the SPAs and the NITs, right? And what you do get is you get an all India rank and you get a home and other state rank as well. So let me show you what it looks like a little later. But this is what you get typically. Now the schools, there's some schools that accept the all India ranks, some schools that have reservations for students from their state. We'll get into those details later. But a lot of people have reached out and said through JEE paper 2, can I also get through the IITs? And the answer to that is yes. There's Kharagpur, Roorkee, and Varanasi. Now, a small correction. This is not through JEE mains paper 2A. To get into the IITs, you need to answer JEE mains paper 1, which is the engineering paper, which is physics, chemistry, math. If you get through that, you get qualified for JEE Advanced, where you have to answer JEE paper 1 and paper 2. And then finally, you answer the architecture aptitude test. And that's how you get into IIT. So it's a little tedious and, not everyone's too comfortable with that. But the idea is that it is possible. However, the SPAs and NITs are a little simpler than the process for the IITs. But whether you get through the NITs or the SPAs, once you get your rank, right? Once you get your rank, you need to register on the JOSA website. All right, the JOSA website, there's a Joint Seat Allocation Authority. So remember, the topic is how do I even get allocated to a school, right? So the allocations happen through JOSA. So you need to remember that if you've done well in your JEE paper 2, typically a 95 percentile plus, 98 percentile plus, 99 percentile plus, then you need to register in JOSA, right? And this is how it happens. So you can see these schools, for example, Manit Bhopal, they have the home state quota, and then they have various reservations under various categories. And then they also have students from other states, right? Students from other states. But if you look at certain other schools, you may not have this option of home state and other state. You may just get an all India rank, right? For example, the SPAs would typically take in an all India rank. Now, what are the most preferred of the SPAs and NITs and IITs? Now, this by no means says that one is better than the other. It just talks about the preference of people, right? So, School of Architecture and Planning. So, most students prefer this. That's why you'll see the opening ranks and the closing ranks very, very high, right? And then you have the whole list of other schools. But, you can consider some of these schools which are highlighted or which are bolded. So these are the schools that you can consider, right? And that's how you actually get admissions into the SPAs, NITs, or IITs. At this stage, let me pause my screen share, okay, and see if there are any questions that have come. Okay. Right. No questions come in. So I will resume my screen share and go to the next option. Now, this applies to majority of you, right? So when it comes to the majority of you, not every state and go outside of the state. Not everyone is looking to target an SPA or an IIT or a NIT, right? from what we've seen, majority of the architecture aspirants would look into their state and say, okay, let me find some good schools there. So, for example, Karnataka, you'll find RVCA, BMSCA, MS Ramaya, Wadiyar. Maharashtra would have its own set of schools. So, very, very interesting options, which you will need to do some level of research on. Now that you know that the NATA is a critical part, it's a qualifying exam. Now, what happens in each state, right? When you apply to most of the design schools, most of the architecture schools. Now, every state has three sets of, every school in each state has, in general, three sets of seats. The set A is a government reserved set, right? Which, for example, there'll be, let's say there's a school in Maharashtra. So the government says, you know what, we want the students of our state to benefit. So what the government says, they regulate the fee structure, they regulate the entrance process, and they mandate that a certain number of students have to be from that state. Generally, that figure is from 40% to 65%, depending on state. And the remaining seats are up to each school, right? They could say, we'll keep all the 60 seats for people who apply to us directly, or they may have, they say, okay, let's keep 20 seats for those who apply to us directly, and let's figure out what we can do with the other 40%, right? So that's the conversation that schools have, but sorry. Yeah. Well, let's go into the next aspect, right? So let's take Karnataka, for example, okay, how it happens in Karnataka. So the Karnataka Examination Authority, or KEA, they are the ones who are allotted, or they are the ones responsible for allotting the seats reserved for the Karnataka candidates, right? So 40% of the seats are reserved for Karnataka candidates, and the fee is regulated to just about a lakh, little over a lakh per year. So over 5 years, you spend not more than 5 lakhs on your architecture education, which is a great, great price point, right? Then you have something called COMEDK. COMEDK is the Consortium of Medical, Engineering, and Dental Colleges of Karnataka. So what happens is a few of the private schools got together and they said, let's have a parallel system to the KEA. And let's mandate that approximately 40% of the seats are allocated to COMEDK, right? So you have a lot of private schools getting together, collaborating, and ensuring that the seat distribution remains fair for the rest of the students, right? But the fee structure here could change. The fee structure could be anywhere between 1 lakh to say 2.5 lakhs, 3 lakhs, maybe about 2.5 lakhs per student, right? And as you go to the management seats, most schools have this option where you can just pay a fee and enter. Of course, NATA is mandatory in any case. Clearing NATA is mandatory in any case. But here you directly go to the school and tell them you're interested in apply. Here the fee tends to be a little higher, anywhere between 2 lakhs to 5 lakhs a year, depending on the school you decide to apply. All right. So this point C is not a direct extension here, right? Now, this is the third method. Now, what these schools do is they say, you know what, we're not going to take the JEE score. And we're not going to be part of any consortium. What we're going to do is we are going to allocate our own seats and we will follow the government norms. So if the government says that 40% of the seats are reserved for Karnataka candidates, we will honor that. We're not going to change that. All right. But the other seats, but either ways, we will have our own processes for students to apply so that it's fair to everybody, right? So accordingly, SEPT would ask you to submit your board 12 board scores and your NATA score, and they would create a rank list based on the applicants. JSAA would have their own requirements. It could include an interview, it could include a portfolio. Christ definitely has a portfolio. They have other requirements as well. So not so, but these are schools of excellence. Remember, the schools that do this are not necessarily, bad schools. They are most often schools that are, I should say, universities, part of their own universities, right? So they're not bad schools. The great schools, in fact, and that's the reason why they have their own entrance processes, right? Yeah, so they do have a direct rank list. Okay, so you apply to them, and all those who apply, they get a rank list, and then they could have an interview-based process where they showcase their portfolio, or maybe even they're given a task and they're asked to keep the task ready, right? So I hope this part of the session is clear. We're still, yep, we're on time. So now it begs the question, what do you need to keep ready? All right. Now, over the next few weeks, whichever process you are following, right? You may go for list one, list two, list three. Very important to have your scorecard ready. Your NATA scorecard, your JE paper 2 scorecard. You need to have your class 12 marks attested. Please go through the list of documents, whether it's Karnataka KEA, whether it's Comment K. One point to note, a lot of people get confused between Comment K engineering and Comment K architecture, all right? So when it comes to the KEA, they have a common application form, whether you want to participate in engineering, architecture, agriculture, or whatever, right? But Comet K has a separate application for engineering and a separate application for architecture. And the architecture application comes on much later. So if you are targeting Comet K, please hold on. Don't apply for the engineering part. Please hold on. And when the applications for architecture announced, that's the time you could apply. All right. Nevertheless, whether it's CT, whether it's Comet K, whether it's whatever process in your school, please make sure you have your list of documents ready, your certificate, your attestations, caste certificate, your, whatever gives you an advantage, sports certificates, whatever is required to help you get this into your school. That's very important. The fourth and the most critical point is the list of preferred architecture schools. Now, if you go through the common process, which is CET or Comet K, they're going to ask you, what are the schools that you want to join in your order of preference? And you need to have an answer ready for this. And that is the problem which most students and parents face, right? Now, to answer this question, we're going to get a little more into the detail of a school, right? Because if you have to know what your order of preference is, you better know what the difference is from one school to the other. You better know what is it that you're coming out when you graduate from an architecture school. What is that impact that the school puts on you, and what makes one school different from the other? If you go to one school, what are the opportunities that are going to get, which is going to be different from the other schools, right? So that's something you need to do. It's taxing, it takes time, it takes effort, and it's not easy at all, right? But on our part, we're going to try and help you out with this. Remember, architecture is a 5-year program, so you will be working in year 6. All right, so your 5 years, you're going to be studying. Now, the thought process is that in the first 3 years, you are going to be exposed to different thought processes, peer groups, um, guest faculty. You're going to go through various travels through and studies of each city, and there's going to be tremendous exposure in the first 3 years. And that's where you need to ensure that you get maximum exposure and you are able to identify your area of interest. All right. In year 4, you need to build your portfolio and also apply to specific architecture firms. For example, if you're interested in skyscrapers, apply to a firm that works on skyscrapers. If you're interested in residential buildings, don't apply to a firm that specializes in skyscrapers. You're not going to fit, right? So go for the right thing. Make sure your portfolio showcases the right projects that highlights your strengths and makes you a fit for that particular organization, right? So ideally, you need to target about 40 to 50 firms and maybe about 6 months, 8 months ahead of time. Yeah. In year 5, you are interning in that particular company. Consider that it's an interview process, right? Be on your toes. Just imagine that it's a 6-month-long interview process and you have to make a mark, right? That's how you plan. That's how you plan yourself while you are in architecture school. Now, really, what makes one school different from the other is this aspect, the first 3 years, the exposure that these first 3 years gives you in that school. All right. So that's where you need to create your own rank list to understand what is the difference from one school to the other. Right. So when you look at creating your own rank list, we suggest that you consider 3 stages. Stage 1, very simple. Look at the location, look at the previous year cutoff scores. Based on that, you take a call, right? Let's say your JEE paper 2 rank is, say, 800, right? If you look at the previous year cutoffs, you know that SPA Delhi is not going to be easy for someone with an 800 rank, right? There's no guarantees, but it's not easy, right? So simplify your thought process, okay? You may be comfortable with certain locations, you may not be comfortable with other locations, right? Eliminate. Okay, I'm not okay with this location, no problem. Look at schools within your location, right? So let me show it to you in a different way. You can choose a part of India, you can choose, within, let's say, a state, you can say, I'm okay with this particular state, district, or that particular district or city. And even within a city, you can choose that, okay, let's say this is where I live. So anything here, I can stay at home and travel to. But if I choose a school that's here, then I would need to stay in the hostel, right? So that's the kind of decision points you make with location. When it comes to cutoff ranks, make sure that you are only referring to the official websites only, right? So let's say you put in a search term as this, KEA Architecture 2023 cutoff, right? Now notice here that you're only getting the first round allotment. You're not getting the second round allotment, third round allotment. Even though my search is for the third round allotment, I'm not getting that. All right. You will find a lot of other websites here but you need to go to the actual one, the official one only, because that's where you're going to get a table like this. And then you search for your category. For example, if you don't have any reservation, you get the general merit, you follow that, and that's how you get your you get to know the previous year cutoff ranks, right? So based on that, what you can do is you can drop your preferred list, right? You can say, okay, based on the last year cutoff ranks, let me see all these schools, I'll put in my first preferred list. The next set of schools I'll prefer, I'll put in my next preferred list, right? So depending on the rank, where the last cutoff rank has entered that particular school. Now, you will get information for a few schools, but for other schools, right? So Christ University, Manipal, Nitte Institute of Architecture. So these are schools that you will not find on that list, right? But nevertheless, these are good schools. So what you can do is you can also go through the last 3 years rank list, okay? And you can put it in a table like this. And based on that, you can also have an idea as to, how one school has changed from the other. But all that information is only to say, I still don't know about the school. I'm just going by other parameters, right? But what you really need to do is understand the school better. You need to see who's heading the school. What is that brand name? What is the legacy? How will that legacy and brand name affect me? What kind of faculty would I get at that institution, right? This this defines your future, right? So it's very, very important that you understand this. Now, at this stage, I would stop to maybe ask a question. Uh, how many of you have come for the Christ University School of Architecture visit? You can just, raise your hand or, or give a heart if you like that that visit. Give a heart, put that in the comments, and let's see how many of you all have visited, because in my opinion, this is one of the best schools with the most amazing philosophy, right? I'm seeing a few hearts coming there, right? So the people who really attended that visit really enjoyed themselves, right? Because you can make out that that school is a class apart. Now, you have your regular academics that you get at school. So every school will say, I do this, I do that. But really, life is also beyond the academics, especially for the architecture and design students, because these are the aspects you will get in all schools. All schools will talk about maybe NASA conference or placements and internships and travel and projects and competitions. All schools will talk about this. But very few schools will talk about the need for an architect to have a sense of business, to have a sense of leadership, to have a sense of networking, a sense of entrepreneurship, right? So all these aspects are very critical. It's not all about academics. And this is why you need to get into a school that focuses on a lot more than just the simple, um, you know, rank list, right? Now, stage three is a different thing. Stage three, um, if you look at that, stage three is, again, you look at the infrastructure and you say, okay, this school has great infrastructure, so I like it. I really enjoy, I would enjoy being at that that place. Um, and really, this you can only see. Now, everyone vibes with a certain school, right? You vibe with a certain environment, and that environment is created by the building, by the people there, by the people teaching, by the peer group, by your seniors, your juniors, the kind of labs that they have. So all of this is the vibe, right? And you're spending the next 5 years in that school. So you better, enjoy that vibe. If you put in a little trouble now, to understand the difference between one school and the other school, identify the why, and say that I like this better than the other one, you will have a great time. Okay. So it's very important to actually visit schools, interact with management and faculty. For example, we did a visit to Christ University the other day, right? Amazing structure, absolutely amazing structure. Every part of this building is well thought of. Okay, we got to interact with the head of the school, and there was a very interesting building that we saw. Okay, what they called as the crystal block. The entire building structure is suspended from these beams. Right? How beautiful is that? Right? There are no beams, there are no columns on the inside. The structure of the building is external and not internal. Isn't that mind-boggling, right? And when you get to study in an environment like this, it is awesome, right? So when you number one, create your first preferred list based on your maybe on what other people have done or past year's rank list, you modify. Okay, let's say this is the original rank list you made. Now, suddenly, what you'll do is you're going to say, let me rearrange the list. After I've interacted, after I've gone, after I've seen, after I've visited, then you'll say, let me just eliminate many of the schools. Let me add a couple of these schools in my preferred list. That's the ideal way for you to do it. Okay. Now, it begs the question, what can you do now, right? Most of y'all have free time right now. Most of y'all have the NATA exams on the weekends, yes. But what can you do to help you with this decision? So there are 4 things that you can do. Number 1, attend the Design and Architecture Conclave at DQ Labs. This is happening on Sunday, the 5th of May. And there's excellent schools coming here. There's Woodyard, there's Christ University, there's BMS School of Architecture, there's Dayanand Sagar. So excellent schools are coming here. Jindal School of Art and Architecture, which is in Sonipat area in the NCR, one of my favorite schools. So there are, and by the way, all the representatives from these schools are going to be talking. All right, they're going to be having a session with you. So please be there at 11 o'clock. The sessions are going to start at 11 and it's going to go on till 4. So you can attend the sessions that you want, but please come, meet with them directly, understand their philosophy, and try and, vibe with that, with the management, right? And then from the schools that you shortlist and visit them. Now we know that visiting them may or may not work out. It's not easy to go to all the schools, but when we do organize the visits, please try. But if you can't, attend at least 10 of the e-meets, right? Where we're bringing the top management to you over a webinar like this, and they're going to be talking about, how they are trying to make a change in the field of architecture, and this gives you a sense of their philosophy. All right. Attend the DNES sessions every Sunday, or as often as possible. We have these DNES sessions or Design Nuances Edu series, where people talk about an aspect of design. It could be design, it could be fashion, it could be architecture, but attend these because it gives you a sense. This was a lovely webinar we had from Gopalan School of Architecture and Planning. It was all about performative architecture, right? Where a building doesn't just need to be beautiful. It has function as well. It could be functional as well, right? So that's what we suggest. Visiting schools, of course. Let me try and play this. So this is one of the aspects, one of the angles that I took. It was a beautiful school. Now, if I pause this, in this area, if you see this area, it has a very, very high ceiling. And maybe if I go into the other area, all right, it has a low ceiling, right? Um, maybe, yeah. So if you see, if you stand in this area, the ceiling is low. If you stand in this area, the ceiling is very high. So in this area, you tend to talk a lot softer, whereas in the other area, you talk a lot louder. All right. And it's amazing to see how people are conditioned to do that, how the building influences us, right, to behave differently. So just an interesting video I thought I should share with you all. All right. And yeah, so the other aspect is, sorry, let me stop my screen share. So I'm done with this part. So we'll, um, at a later point of time, what we are going to do is we are going to start the e-meet series shortly. And that's something that's going to be very useful for you. All right. So now we'll come down. Now that I've finished my part of the talk, let's get down to the Q&A. Please feel free to ask your questions and I will answer. So Sudha is asking, so JEE paper 2A does not apply to the IITs. No, Sudha, it does not apply, unfortunately. But the complexity of getting into the IITs is something that's, a little prohibitive, right? So it gets a little challenging. If you're up to that challenge, it's a great opportunity. But otherwise, um, you know, J paper 2A focuses on SPA and NITs, which are great schools to be at. Rekha Philip is asking, for children following in international boards, mark lists won't come before September. What is the option for such students? Um, Interesting. So yes, there are students in international boards. IB board, I think, comes a little late. You get a predicted score. So you need to take that predicted score and submit that in general. And but you need to reach out. So all this information is there um, in the NIF in the KEA brochure, or if you're not getting the answer there, you need to connect with the KEA. They will give you the latest update on that. Whether you have to give a predicted score, whether you have to wait for some time, or whether you submit, an alternative. That's what they would generally. We would encourage you to do that. It changes. Sometimes the regulations change from year to year, so I'm a little hesitant on giving you the direct answer for this. But our students have not faced serious issues. Just to let you know that you have time till September, October to give your final scorecard. All right. So they give you a provisional admission based on the documents you provide, and then once you are able to give the final documents, that's when they would, your admission is confirmed. Emmanuel Roji is asking, can you go to the previous slide? Emmanuel, which slide are you asking me to go to? Please try and specify, and I'll go to that. Aditya U is asking, is NATA score not required for SPAs, and is it only the JEE paper to score? In short, yes. All right. In short, the JEE paper to score is the only score that is considered for your ranking. For your ranking in to get the JEE paper 2A rank, right? Having said that, please do the NATA exam. All you need to do is qualify in the NATA. And because it's a handy document that is required at a later stage, once you complete your architecture, that point of time, they also ask you for your NATA qualified document. So many people lose this document. Please keep the document with you safely. Um, Netra Srihari is saying, I've missed the architecture school visits. Will the session repeat again? Unfortunately, Netra, the sessions will not repeat, but it's a good thing to attend. So please try and attend the next few that come up, but also attend visit the DQ Labs Indranagar Center on 5th May, because many of the schools understand that it's tough for you to go there, and that's why they're coming here. So it's easier for you to access them. But you can always ask them that you'd want to visit. We are also organizing a few more visits, and hopefully that helps you. Please participate in those. Aditya U is asking, is the process different for planning in SPA? No, for planning, Aditya, you need for planning, you need to answer JEE paper 2B. I hope you've answered that, because that's the exam for planning. But otherwise, the process is the same. There's no other change in the process, right? On what? Okay, Emmanuel saying on what we need to focus on when what the school provides. Okay, let me bring that up. Yeah. I hope this is the right slide that you're asking about. Okay. Yeah, so when it comes to this, not too many schools focus on business skill sets, right? Marketing skill sets, leadership skill sets. And it's important that you gain these skills, right? Because think about it, as a professional architect, you're talking to CEOs, you're talking to big business owners, but you're also talking to the plumbers and the electricians and the carpenters, right? Your ability to communicate with each has to be good. You're collaborating with uh, talking to government officials, you're negotiating with the vendors, you're negotiating for your own fees, right? Schools need to focus on this. Not every school focuses on this, right? They may have a small module, but it's important that this is ingrained into everyone for your success, right? Thank you, Emmanuel, for asking me to reshare this. All right. Smita Durgam is asking, what is SPA? SPA is School of Planning and Architecture. It's there are 3 campuses. So the School of Planning and Architecture has been constituted to improve the quality of living in India, right? Everyone's quality of living has to be enhanced. And that's the reason why um, the government had started these schools, the School of Planning and Architecture. So they have 3 campuses. The Delhi campus is the oldest one. Then they have Bhopal, and then they have Vijayawada. Excellent schools to be at. And we do hope that people get in, as many people. Every year we do have students who got into SPA. So this year is no different. We hope that some of you have gotten. But again, not everyone has shared their NATA scorecards with us. Not everybody has shared their JE Paper 2 scorecards with us. Please share it with us so that we know. Talk to us so that we can help you. If you don't reach out to us, we can't do anything. All right. So please help us understand what your situation is, and we'll help you out. Janvi Patel is asking, what is the procedure for abroad universities, and would it be a good choice to go abroad for bachelor's? So Janvi, yes. It would be a good option. So the advantage of going abroad is that you are exposed to different people, different cultures, different environments, different thought processes. All of this is very, very critical for you to, it's good. It's part of your exposure. Now, Is it good to do it abroad? That's again a personal choice to do it abroad. You need to apply to schools. They'll ask you for a portfolio. They give you tasks. That is in itself a very, very complex uh, activity. Now, if you have a good portfolio, you get good scholarships. See, getting admissions abroad is not as challenging as getting admissions with scholarships, right? So if you really want to get a scholarship, then put in the effort, it works. You get very good scholarship. It saves you money. It saves your parents money. You take a lesser loan, easier to pay. It just makes life simple for all of you. Yeah. So it would be a good choice if you're looking for the globalized experience. If you are looking to go abroad, make sure they are REBA affiliated. Okay. REBA is the Royal Institute of something of architecture. Okay. It slipped my mind. But these are schools. These are basically schools approved by the standards are set by the UK government, and many of the Commonwealth countries have an association with those schools. So this makes it um, practical. So you can study abroad and also practice in India. All right. Certain schools, when you study abroad, you will not be able to. You don't have the license to practice in India. So please make sure that you have that license if your intention is to come back. Yeah. For kids having, so Kamal Gupta is asking, for kids having non-Indian resident status, how do these schools consider them? Do they consider NRI quota? Yes, certain schools do consider NRI quota. Certain schools have the option of you applying as an OCI. The government themselves have come up with some regulations. If you are a OCI holder, that you need to qualify under the Indian quota. So again, very, very questionable. So please reach out to the relevant authorities. I mean, I can give you information on what happened last year, but it really doesn't make sense because I'm not the authority, right? Remember, every time you need to get right information, you have to go to the proper authority. I can't reiterate this as much. A lot of people go online, they just go to some random websites, they ask us, and we will only tell you the information that was there last year, right? So please be independent. Please learn the skill of researching. If you don't have it already, it makes good sense. Bolo is asking, any idea on DASA ranks and admission process? Yeah, Bolo, DASA is a great option for students qualify for that. It's much easier to get through, and we would, again, the information is there in the brochure, so please go through that information. If you do get into those schools, then life is made, right? Emmanuel Roji is asking, how often is the DNES aired? So, Emmanuel, the DNAs, we try and invite various experts every Sunday. All right. It doesn't happen every Sunday. It happens as and when we get experts. But if you're on our groups, we do send the communication out. If you're not on our groups, please reach out to one of our counselors and we will help you out. Yeah. Is there a ranking list done by DQ Labs for architecture schools based on your experience that can help students? You know what? There's no ranking list as such, but we have visited over 30 architecture schools across India, um, and some of them abroad as well. We have we have we've seen firsthand the difference of one school to the other. So there are schools that are recommended. Okay. I can't say that I have a rank list. I can say I have a list of recommended schools. Um, and most of the schools and the schools which are coming on Sunday are all recommended. The schools that are going to be invited for the e-meets are all recommended. And trust me, you come for these talks, you're going to get such a good idea of what you should be doing and how one school is different from the other. It will really benefit you. Uh, is there a session planned for architecture portfolios? Netra, we've planned sessions for portfolios at all our centers. Okay. And we do a session of portfolio online every year. Um, these are general portfolios, so it doesn't matter whether you're going for architecture, design, or fashion. The school will tell you what you require in your portfolio, and that's what you need to keep ready. So please reach out to us if you need this, and we'll help sort this out. Okay. What are the perks of doing masters? All right. So Satyam, the yeah. So Satyam, the perks of doing masters is this. So number one, with a bachelor's degree, what you're going to get is a generic bachelor's of architecture degree. But with a master's, you get to specialize in certain fields, right? So you get to specialize in green architecture, you get to specialize in maybe certain building materials or construction. So various aspects of or landscaping or very, very interesting options are there for you to specialize in. That's if you do decide to stick with the architecture field. But at a master's level, if you feel like you need to get into design, you could also do transportation design or communication design or UI UX design or game design, right? And there's a whole lot of areas of fashion design or AR and VR and XR, and there's a whole range of things that you can specialize in at the master's level, which gives you various opportunities. So you could work as an independent architect, as an entrepreneur, you could work in the software industry. It just opens up avenues for you, provided that's what you want to do. Uh, Ravinder is asking, is it possible for you guys to share the JEE paper to cut off for last year? I looked that up today. I was not able to find out. Generally, it comes on the JOSA website. Okay. Let me try and find. Let me show you how you can get this information. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. So type in JOSA, you get this Joint Seat Allocation Authority. Now, if you see, this has not been updated from 27th of, it's still showing 2023, right? So it's not an updated, website. But if you come here, you click on this opening and closing ranks, right? And then you'll get the opening and closing ranks for 2023 and the previous years as well. So you click on this, right? Here you can select whichever round. Let's say round 1, institute type, let's say all, okay? Institute name, let's say School of Planning and Architecture, New Delhi. Let's say the academic program you want is architecture, and you come in the open category, right? So you click on the submit button and you'll get the information here. The opening is rank 6, the closing is rank 127, right? So that's how you get it. Now, if you want for the previous years, you just click on that and you come and select the year, which year you want, right? So that's the only difference. You can go back a few years. So this is how you do that, right? So maybe if you want, I will share this link with you in the chat box right away. Okay. Rekha Philip is asking, would you be conducting a similar session for design school admission process? Rekha, I'm guessing you're in the next batch, 2025 batch, because this has already been done multiple times for 2024. For the 2025 batch, we're yet to do it. Sagar Biani is asking, which college to choose, Christ University or CEPT Ahmedabad or JSAA Sonipat? My recommendation is to come and visit. So ideally, you need to get a sense of all three, right? I do hope you visited the Christ University campus. I do understand visiting CEPT is challenging, visiting JSA is challenging. If you can make those visits, nothing like it. But if you can't make those visits, then come down on May 5th. You can interact with Christ University, you can interact with JSA, and they're giving talks, and in my opinion, wonderful talks. As far as CEPT Ahmedabad goes, we have interviewed our past students from CEPT Ahmedabad. Please go back on our YouTube channel, get a sense of what they are, of those interviews and see what happened. So what would you consider as a good score in NATA to get into good college? So Mihir, this changes every year. Certain years, 120 is a great score. Certain years, 120 is a very mediocre score. This year, we've seen, anything, I think 130 plus, 140 plus would be good scores. Yeah. So, Ravinder, please check. So I've showed you, send the link to you. I hope you can get that. Yeah. All right. We've come almost to the end of the session. Any more questions before we end, please let us know. If you like the session, please give me a like, hit the like button. If you've not subscribed to the DQ Labs channel, please hit the subscribe button. If you think that your friends would benefit from this particular webinar, please share this webinar with them. It doesn't matter if they're students of DQ Labs, if they're not students of DQ Labs, if they're parents. We know that this is a pain point that every parent faces, every student faces. In fact, even if your friends would like you to, like to come and visit us on May 5th, they're most welcome to come and visit us. At the conclave, at the Design and Architecture Conclave at Indiranagar, please make sure that they, benefit. Okay, I've been asked a question for the cutoff ranks. So the question is, hold on. Okay, the question is from Sudha, who's saying, could you share the link for the NATA cutoffs? I can share the link. But I would like you to do this, right? I know I'm being overbearing. I don't want to do that, but I just want you to try it out and see how easy it is, right? You type in KEA Architecture 2023 cutoff, first round, second round, third round, and you will get this. All right. Make sure you get this particular website, ctonline.karnataka.gov.in, right? The easier thing for me to do is to send this link to you, but I really want you guys to just do this activity. It'll help you out a lot. Yeah. Okay. How do we know? Thanks, Ravinder. That's great. I'm glad that it helped you. Emmanuel is asking, how do we know that these architecture schools focus on the criteria which have been shared? So, Emmanuel, so this is critical, right? It's not something that is very apparent. It's not something that's in your face, right? So this is why, you really need to, like, let's say we invite these faculty for a e-meet, and in the e-meet they keep talking about all of this, right? That this is what we do, that is what we do. Now, when you actually go to the school, when you actually visit the school, right? You can see it in the student's work. You can see it in the confidence of the student. You can see that the student has actually joined some courses on marketing, some courses on leadership. They're taking the courses, right? That is a link between what the faculty is saying and what the students are actually doing. And when you interact with the students, you will actually see that the students are implementing those learning experiences and they're taking charge, they're taking control, they have their own side hustles going on. They're organizing their own events, they're raising funds, they're building things. So that's how you make out, right? So it's a little tough, right? So we've gone to about 30 schools. We've seen some great ones and we've seen some mediocre ones as well, right? um and what we figured is that only when you go and see and take that little trouble, okay? So we know that it's tough, but attend at least a few sessions. By then, you will have a much better idea of what you need to do, okay? Of what you need to get out of the school. Satyam's asking, how many colleges should we shortlist or keep preferred on our preferred list? Is it fine when you keep a lot on the list? Yeah. So as far as CT goes or Comment K goes, you can put all the schools. Doesn't matter, right? Now, what happens, the mistake a lot of people make is that they say, oh, my preferred school is here, but they just take it so lightly that they put it lower down in the order. And even students who qualify for that school get the other school that's assigned to them first, right? So it's very critical that you put thought into this while you and my recommendation, okay, as students, don't do this by yourselves. Do it with your parents. And parents, please support your kids on this. Like it has to be a family decision. All right. It needs thought. A lot of students just see what the other student is doing and then they just copy the list. That does not work, right? So please, so you can put as many colleges as you like. Just make sure the order of preference is well thought through, something. Okay. Right, right, Rekha Phillips. I think I need to log off as well. Thanks once again, and hope you all enjoyed the session. And looking forward to seeing you all on the 5th, right? Okay, take care. Goodbye. Have a lovely evening with beautiful weather.